mean, who would wanna hide this? I will never, ever, 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 ever be your side chick. I put the sting in single. Ain't worried about a ring on my finger. So you can tell your friend, shoot your shot when you see him. It's okay, he already in my DM. Why men great till they gotta be great? Don't text me, tell it straight to my face. Best friend set me down in the
whakarongo ake au. Ki te tangi a te manu nei. A te ngā tui. Tui, 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 tuia. Tuia I runga, tuia I raro, tuia I waho, tuia I roto, tuia I te tangata. Karango te pō, karango te ao. Tuia I te muka tangata, I taki e mai, I Hawaii nui, I Hawaii roa, I Hawaii pāmamao, o te rā mei era atu anu Hawaii. Te hono o Wairua, whakaputa ki te whae ao, ki te ao marama, ti hei Māori ora. We're going to sing together, and it is in your order of service, the Waiata Puria Nei. Shuffle the front row and bring Paul and Megan right to the middle. I'm going to bring you right to the middle while we shuffle. You've got time to read the words and practice them while we get the sound going. Can play. We have the video for Puria Nei, the sound. I can just start it. Puria Nei e te hau, horuia e te ua, whiti whitia. Te rā, mai ake ngā, pōraru raru, makere ana nā Please be seated. While we reflect and get ourselves settled, we're going to hear a little bit of one of the songs that Paul would play to his beloved Caitlin, Forever Young. Please take this moment to reflect. Or sing. Every song.
And may sunshine and happiness surround you when you're far from home. And may you grow to be proud, dignified and true. And do unto others
Welcome, Paul and Megan. Welcome, family, who are joining us through a live stream from the United States and wherever you are. Welcome, friends here and internationally. Welcome, scholars. Welcome, fatties. And welcome, unionists. We gather here today, 5 different villages, joined because of one big heart. We gather here today, 5 different villages joined in sorrow. We gather here today, 5 different villages made into one to celebrate the life of the loving, the inspirational, the vivacious, the bold, the funny, the smart Clare Pausé. We gather here in this place, Wharirata, to celebrate all that Cat was and to mourn. Mourning is an acknowledgement of loss, but as the late scholar Bell Hooks said, it is also a way of honouring our commitment to those who have died. As was mentioned in the karanga, but I do want to repeat, I want to acknowledge at this point Kat's tipuna, those who came before her maternal grandparents, Doctors Robert and Margaret Jeffrey, and her paternal grandparents, Herman and Rhoda Pausé. It was a moment of connecting when I found out that Kat's grandmother was Rhoda, because mine was too. So you learn the connections throughout life, and today will be about doing that. Megan and Paul, no words can help with such an enormous loss. But I want to acknowledge right now how much Kat loved you. Over the past 2 weeks, as we here in Aotearoa have tried to come to terms with this enormous loss, one thing has been said over and over. Oh my, she did love her mummy and papa. She did love you so much. No words can help in losing a daughter, for a daughter is someone you laugh with, dream with, and love with all your heart and every fibre of your being. No words can mend broken hearts, but we are so pleased that you are here with us. And that Kat, your daughter, Kathleen, is here too. For those that haven't heard, last Friday in a private ceremony with Megan and Paul joining us in a live stream, along with other family and friends in the United States, and a small group of friends, we farewelled Kathleen in a private ceremony at Litchway Funeral Directors and moved to a private cremation. So today we want to publicly acknowledge that first farewell was full of tears and laughter and love. Today, Kat's remains have been brought here as part of her journey back to where she was born, Midland, Texas, and to be in the arms of her loving mother and her father. Today is the time for the public farewell, and I am going to ask shortly for Paul and Fraser to welcome you. But I do want to just mention a couple of things, and this is to all of you in the live stream as well. Today is a day when we need to be together. Kat lived large in social media, as she did in person, but I am going to ask that you make sure your phones are off and away. We do have Enzo here today taking photographs, and we are live streaming this to friends and family around the world and in New Zealand who couldn't be with us. But we do want you ever present in this space with us. Enzo is taking photographs for Megan and Paul, and they will be theirs, no one else's. So if you see a very tall man with a camera, you can't miss him. That's Enzo. Now I want to turn over to Paul and Megan to open with the help of Fraser.
Kia ora. Megan and I just want to thank all of you so very much for being here today with us and with Kathleen. We have special thanks for Gabriel and for Sandra for their incredible love, unselfish generosity, and all their support. They were here for Kathleen and took care of her and looked after her when we couldn't be here yet, and we can never repay them for that. Thank you both. So many other amazing people, through their love for Kathleen, helped us, reached out to us. Deborah, Tony and Rana, Becky, so many more. We wouldn't even be here without some of that help. So God bless you for that, and thank you for that. We are so grateful to all of you, and we thank you from the bottom of our broken hearts and ask that God's blessing be on all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Megan. She will forever be young. But I'm going to say that song, her heart was that generous, her impact that great. And you will hear more about it as the morning progresses. And thank you, Fraser. Fraser's designated to support Paul throughout the day. And we are ever grateful for every friend that has lent their love, their concern, their hearts, their words. Those of us here in Aotearoa are so very, very grateful that you shared Kathleen with us for the past 14 years. So again, to all those here in person and online, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to all who called Kat family, friend, colleague, feminist fighter and sister. My name is Sandra Gray, and I was proud to call Kat my friend. Throughout this morning, I encourage you to find your own space, your own way, your own words to farewell Kathleen. One thing Kat absolutely did is she encouraged anyone she met to be themselves, and she told the rest of us to step back if we wanted to change them in any way. She did it politely, probably more politely than I could ever do. So during this service, you will hear some of Kat's own words. We'll connect through tributes from family and friends, and we'll have time to reflect. We will share tears and laughter, and in all this, the very closest to Kathleen, Paul and Megan, her mummy and papa, need and will feel the warmth from all who loved her. We will also share moments of song. When we started thinking about celebrating Kat's life, Becky, Gabrielle and I recalled how surprised Kat was that we sang at meetings in New Zealand. Not just once, but quite often, particularly in union spaces, but also because of tikanga Māori coming into our spaces. So please, in the order of service, which I now just want to call a song sheet, if that's okay. Yeah, are a whole lot of song words. Don't be afraid to belt them out, sing them along. Caitlin's journey in life and now in death spanned many continents and many villages. For some, that time started when she came here to Aotearoa 14 years ago, for others much earlier. So I'm going to ask Deborah Russell to join me here to share with you a little bit more about the life of Kathleen Clare Pausé. So Adam is going to help people get up and down off the stage. You'll excuse me for not leaving. If I get off here, I'm not getting back up, that's for sure. No? What? Oh, yours.
Ena mana, ena iwi, ena reo, ena raurangatira tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. I want first to acknowledge Paul and Megan, Kat's parents, who flew in yesterday. Paul and Megan, we cannot imagine worse circumstances in which to welcome you here, but we are so thankful to have you amongst us. And we'd like to reach out and wrap our collective arms around you. There are a lot of them, and they would stretch quite a long way, so we will do this very gently. As Sandra said in the opening of our time together, there are people here from many of the different worlds in which Kat moved. Between us, we know a lot of things about Kat, but today is also about sharing things we may not know, including the answer to the existentially critical question, do you like Madonna as much as she did? I want you all to think about that. So Kathleen was born in Midland, Texas at Midland Memorial Hospital on May 29, 1979. She lived and was raised in Midland through high school. So I'm going to begin with some questions and answers from the two people who brought their angel into the world. We asked Megan and Paul to tell us a little about parts of Kat's life that some of us may not be familiar with. So this is a variation of the Cat Pausé radio special. So these are the questions, and the answers are given are Megan's and Paul's words. So, what is your favourite family holiday memory? And Megan and Paul said, if we were to choose just one of many, we think it would be the time we were in New York City over Christmas. We had such fun and did some really memorable things. Broadway shows, the Rockets at Radio City Music Hall with Santa, the Nutcracker Ballet at the Lincoln Centre. And whenever we would visit her in New Zealand, she made sure our itinerary included time at the beach because she knew how much her mommy loved and missed the ocean. What is the funniest memory? Well, Paul and Megan said, the infamous bad daddy incident in New York. And then she started keeping track of them in a journal. Paul, we're not quite clear about exactly what that incident was. Right, we'll work on that, everyone. When did her generosity of spirit and heart begin? The moment she was born. It was just her. How did she learn to be so smart and funny? Well, she got her smarts from both her parents. Being funny came from Papa. I am hilarious. That's probably connected with that bad daddy incident. When did she learn to ride a bike? She learned at our home on Westminster Drive in Midland when she was probably 7 or 8 years old. She always wanted me to let go way before she was ready, in my opinion at least. Didn't matter. I remember a few sensitive moments scraping gravel out of the palms of her little hands. Tell us a little about that Disney obsession. We went to Disneyland when she was pretty young. She met and hugged, of course, many Disney characters. She also fell in love with the Small World ride. We must have gone on that one 5 or 6 times. And she didn't stop singing the theme song for what seemed like a long time. And now to that question. Do you like Madonna as much as she did? Is that even possible? So what more can be said about Kat, the daughter and the child? Brian Jeffrey shared these early memories. Kathleen Clare was my goddaughter, and so I had a very special bond with her from a very young age. My earliest memory of Kat was when her mother and her came to visit us in San Rafael, California. She was less than a year old, and her hair stood almost straight on end. I was sitting next to her in my mother's car, Grandma Jeffrey, and she would not stop talking. The thing was, she was unable to speak yet, so it was complete gibberish. It was so cute to watch her blabbering at me for minutes on end. My favourite memory of Kat was playing the piano for her. She loved Vince Guaraldi's Linus and Lucy from the Peanuts special. She would dance and twirl the whole time I played that song. There were days when I probably played that song 6 times for her. Then there was that smile. She had a great smile. It made you love her. Kat went to St Anne's Elementary School in Midland, and her childhood friend Ruth Johnson met Kat at her very first day at kindergarten. And these are Ruth's words. I started at St Anne's Catholic School in October 1984. I remember feeling nervous and embarrassed. But my seat was across from Kat's, and I will always remember her amazing smile, which is still imprinted on my memory. She was kind and sweet and funny, and we instantly became friends. She shared my love of Barbies, dress-up, and slumber parties. Later, in Kat's own words, you'll hear about how she came to terms with loving things like Barbies and living with the contradiction it threw up for her. And you'll see photos that show the girl from Texas never got tired of dress-up or pyjama parties. Kat's other schooling was done at Goddard Junior High, Lee Freshman High and Robert E. Lee High School in Midland. And again, this is part of Kat's life that Ruth shared. All of my favourite slumber parties in elementary and middle school were at Kat's house. Her parents always went over the top with the ice cream sundaes and other amazing desserts. And they always let us stay up late talking about boys and bands and boy bands. Kat went on to college at Southwestern State University in San Marcos, Texas, and received her PhD at Texas Tech University in Lubbock, Texas. And from this small memory that's coming about college years, we're all likely to recognise one of Kat's amazing talents, keeping connected with all who have been part of her life. Again from Ruth. My other favourite moment was my freshman year in college. Kat went to Texas Tech and I went to Texas A&M, which was separated by over 400 miles, about a 7 or 8 hours drive. I was laying on my bed studying one afternoon and in burst Kat, completely out of the blue. She was visiting a friend at A&M and managed to track me down in the world before cell phones. I remember being so surprised and so incredibly happy to see that smile of hers again that day. Kat left her home in the USA to come to Aotearoa 14 years ago. She moved to Palmerston North to take up her academic role in human development at Massey University. And we must acknowledge the incredible body of work produced by Kat. Kat was the lead editor of Queering Fat Embodiment 2014 from Ashgate and coordinated 2 international conferences, Fat Studies Reflective Intersections in 2012 and Fat Studies Identity, Agency, Embodiment in 2016. Fat Studies Past, Present, Futures is running in Auckland, New Zealand in 2022. Kat, during her academic years, had a way of pulling friends, family, colleagues and students into writing with her, to helping others share their voice. And I'm personally so grateful to have been one of those colleagues who wrote with her and published with her. It just goes to show there is a universal language shared by Fat Studies lecturers and taxation lecturers. Kat's active involvement in the university community and more broadly extended her impact. There was the work with Camellia House and on the Massey University Pay and Employment Equity Group. And Kat was one of the co-leaders of Women at Massey. Actually, I remember when I got back here to Massey University at the start of 2011, finding Women at Massey operating and just going, yes, this is wonderful. It was a truly wonderful organisation here, and I loved being part of it. Anyway, Emma Alter has spent the last 12 years working alongside Kat and Women at Massey, and these are Emma's words. I don't know how Women at Massey is going to survive without her energy, her commitment, without her. But we need to keep alive the things she had planned for this year. So I hope that this will be another part of her legacy, getting women to stand up and be counted again at a time when so many have so much to do already. Kat found time to take up the role of Vice President of Te Hatu Kahurangi, the Tertiary Education Union. TEU's tumu whakare Tina Smith, in a message to over 10,000 members, spoke of how Kat did a power of work as a union activist, including taking on national positions, putting together fabulous conference panels and running women's leadership days. She lived her scholarship, calling out attitudes or actions that reduce people while, through her warmth and actions, encouraging better. Kat was active in the CTU Women's Committee and put energy into helping run conferences which inspired women to be feminists and unionists. And while living in Manawatu, Kat found a way to have her voice amplified around the globe through her radio show, Friend of Marilyn. Over a period of a decade, Kat pumped out some 373 episodes of the show, Friend of Marilyn, through Manawatu People's Radio, Te Reo Irirangi o na tangata o Manawatu. Fraser Gregg wrote of Kat that she was genuine, loyal, loud. He wrote that in caps. There'll be further tributes about Kat's fat activism later in the service. And wherever Kat went, that smile captured hearts and her courage inspired. Kat's friend Heather Cavan remarked that, "I don't know the exact time of Cat Pausé's passing, but I like to think it was the same time I had an overwhelming feeling to play Helen Reddy's song, I Am Woman. That's because the song is an anthem of female courage, and I can't even imagine the amount of courage it took for Kat to put herself in the public eye as a fat woman and say, 'Treat us better.'" Heather was right in observing that Kat was usually the wittiest person at the dinner table. And it reminds us that one of Kat's extemporaneous comments made the top 10 in Quote of the Year 2017. Where it beat an eloquent quote from my boss, Jacinda Ardern. Okay. When asked if fat people are a hazard because they could fall on you, so everyone roll your eyes. Okay. Good eye roll, do it. All right, good. Kat whipped out this. "I've not seen the data about the risk factor of death by falling fatty. I imagine it's similar to the risk factor of death by Sharknado." And this is from her friend Vanessa, so some words from Vanessa. "Kat and I have been friends and colleagues since she arrived. It's really hard to sum up, but here's a bit from me. My earliest memory of Kat was when she arrived at Massey and sashayed in the door. She instantly lit up the room with her smile, her presence and positivity. I have many favourite moments with Kat. So many laughs. Her laugh was the best. Lovely celebration lunches and going to the ballet. 3 words that made me love Kat? There are way more than 3, but she was so kind, caring and generous. Kat was such an amazing friend who was always so incredibly supportive, wise and there for me." That was my own experience of Kat too. I first met her when I joined the Renaissance Singers and met this marvellous, sassy woman with a fabulous alto voice. And I sang in the first altos and Kat in the second altos for a few years there. Very soon I met her again at Massey and we became fast friends. I think the true depth of her friendship was shown when she, I think willingly, came along to my daughter's school show every year with me. She sent me the sweetest messages and she was so supportive when I made the jump to politics. And the way she lived and worked encouraged me towards radical acceptance and joy in all types of people. So that's a very small snippet of what Kat has done. There is no doubt that across time and space, in and out of universities, radio stations, movie theatres, union meetings and nail salons, seeing the best in people and enhancing the mana of others, left, right and centre, was Kat's way. Megan and Paul, there are many thousands of such words, and too many to read out here. so we'll keep bundling them all up for you. For now, let me pick out some of these words and paint a word cloud for you. Bright, joyous, caring, intelligent, beautiful, strong, warm, brave, kind, generous, boundless energy, brilliant communicator, a force, a light, vibrant, hard worker, dedicated, passion, humour, support, joie de vivre, infectious smile, enthusiastic, full of life, full of fun, full of araha, persistence, switched on, present, huge manakitanga, care, respect and generosity towards others, the laugh, the nails. Your daughter is imprinted on all of us. Thank you for the gift of Caitlin Pausé. When you take her home, take with you too, the knowledge that she was loved. Thank you.
We're going to begin with a number of tributes. Where to start? Why, at the very beginning, with a tribute written by Paul and Megan. Becky is going to come read it. Paul and Megan, you are welcome to join her here if you would like to, or you are welcome to listen and be. Adam? Thanks. Becky, all yours.
Oh gosh, this is awfully high, isn't it?
It's not made for short people.
It is not, is it? Okay. A letter to our daughter. Kia ora, dear sweet little one. We love and miss you so much. We are still in disbelief. How can you be gone? It makes no sense. Will we understand after the shock and dismay and heartache ease up? I doubt it. You were such a light in our lives, and not just ours. You should see all the beautiful testimonials and remembrances we have received from so many people who know you and love you. Even though you're not here to read them over my shoulder, I know you're listening when I read them to you. I hope they bring a smile to your face, and what a smile you have. Your dazzling smile and bright, sparkling blue eyes would light up the room. Your smile still lights up our lives because it is forever present in our hearts. You taught me so much. You had such a big, generous heart, full of love and acceptance, understanding, kindness and courage. You loved people for who they were, but you always inspired them to be the best that they could be. Let me share with you just a bit of a note from your friend Kevin. I wish I would have been able to tell her how much her friendship and love has meant to me since we were teenagers. I will forever feel lost knowing I can't call her and bug her with my stupid stuff. She always listened. She is a huge reason I have become the good man she always said that I was. There are so many people here now to celebrate your life and be on your journey with you. I hope you can feel the love in this room. Kathleen, thank you for your life. Thank you for blessing us with 42 wonderful, incredible, amazing years. You left us much too soon. We will try and honour your life and your work by being the best people that we can be and treating every person we meet with the same dignity and compassion and kindness and generosity that you showed your entire too short life. May flights of angels sing thee to thy rest. You were our light, our life, our love. You were our angel, and now you are God's. Love, Mummy and Papa.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you, Paul and Megan, for sharing those heartfelt words. And as I said, for sharing your daughter with those whose lives she touched so deeply. I'm going to invite Gabrielle, Kat's friend throughout the 14 years that girl from Texas lived here in Aotearoa, to share her thoughts. Or perhaps more fitting, for the service, I'm going to use one of Kat's welcomes to Gabrielle. Yo, bitch, what's up? Now, her dad would have always replied saying, no bitches, Kathleen. And she would always respond, oh, Papa, bitches, bitches everywhere. Please, Gabrielle.
Kia ora whānau. One of the strange things about losing Kat has been doing this twice. Last week when I finished discussing our immense friendship, I thought of so many extra things. So I'm going to carry on with the naughtiness we got up to. That was Kathleen. She had this amazing way of pushing your boundaries a little bit more every time. And as an American, she would think, well, we'll just give them money and we'll get what we want. And I can remember one time when we went on one of our many twilight pilgrimages to Wellington, and we loved the big comfy seats. So in the morning when we went to see it, she said, let's sit there. And I, being the good Catholic girl I was, I said, no, we can't sit there. We haven't paid for them. She goes, yes, we can. They won't know. So we went and sat in them and then promptly got busted. And Kat just offered the guy $20 and he said, no, get back. And some of we were both very strong feminists, and in some of our little less charitable moments, we would talk about what would make the world better. And I'm sorry, most of your men got sacrificed. And we would say, yeah, I'm willing to sacrifice them for the short-term pain, long-term gain. And I always thought that I had fairly, and I do, very left-wing socialist views. And then I met Kathleen and she just blew my mind with some of the things she got me to think about. And these are things I'd never even thought about. And that was amazing. She would say, well, look at it from this perspective. Like, holy fuck, yes. And she made me feel, sometimes when you would feel a certain way about something and you'd say to her, help me unpack why I'm feeling this way. And, her being able to say, well, it's the way you've been conditioned, look at it, and I was able to tell her last year just that she was the most influential person of my adult life, and just how much she meant to me. And her being gone, it blows my mind. We had so many plans. We were going back to Texas and she was taking me to a shooting range this time. Last time we went there, one of the restaurants we were meant to go to in Midland, we had to cancel because they actually had a shooting. I said, well, this time I'm ready for the practice one. And I remember talking about her love of parties and that, and one year we had decided for my birthday to have a kids party, for adults, no children invited. And Kat, the only time she really pressured me, or bullied me as we called it, excuse me, she really wanted to plan this party for me. I said no, because I knew she'd go overboard like she always did. And I'm just like, you do so much for me anyway. And she just followed me around Spotlight, just saying, that would be really nice at your party, that would be really nice at your party. And I eventually gave her permission, and she went into this fugue state and just grabbing everything off the shelves to make her party. But that was just her. She was so generous. My partner James has often said that Kat is the only example of trickle-down economics we've ever seen in this world, because everything she bought went somewhere. So she, I just, one time, talking about pushing boundaries, I got so angry at her. She bought me an iPad for my birthday, And I had to remind her, she'd text me, how's the iPad? Fine. Maybe I'm using it, maybe I'm not. And one day we were going down to Wellington, I'm not sure what for, and she had to adjust something, and she said, I'll just take the wheel. And I'm like, I don't drive. We're on the Wellington, I'm not taking the mucking wheel. And she said, yes you are, because I'm taking my hands off. Yeah, I know, Papa, she was naughty. Bad cat, bad cat. And when she would have a faux pas in manners, I would always threaten to tell her mum. I'd say, dear Caitlin Pausé, guess what your daughter did today? And Kat shared with me just the love in Midland for her. You know, I met people that have known her. Well, Ruth, I met Ruth. I met her wonderful parents, I've told them both this, but their Kat and her parents' relationship really was #family goals. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. This family that loved and respected each other. It wasn't perfect, no. Nothing is. But wow, I wish I'd had that. And you can see how she turned out to be the person she was. And you are hilarious, Papa, no matter what she said. You are hilarious. Yeah. I want everyone, this photo here, I was really insistent on having this photo here. And I was prepared to go against wishes. Because this is who Kat was, and she was the happiest, and this is when she accepted she is who she is. To anyone who has hate is going to hate. And she was so happy, and I just hope that we can all, if nothing else from Kat, just love who you are. You don't owe anyone an apology for living, loving, or being you. I heard that phone too. I can't say goodbye to her. So we'll just see her later. And she was my fatty. We made up nicknames for each other, so she had a rap name, which was Fatty Too Cool, because she was too cool. And one of the, how do you put it into words? Never have another friendship like hers. And I'm really angry she's been taken from us, really angry now. But Kat would make us move on from that. She would not want us living like that. So I choose to remember the woman I loved, and I'm still coming back to Texas to shoot that gun. I'm doing it. Yeah. And just thank you, Fatty. Thank you for loving me the way you did. I always knew how much you loved me, even though it was very hard for me to accept. Just thank you.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Everyone here will know how smart Kat was, but we want to give you a wee reminder. So here's a little bit from Cat Pausé, scholar, read by her friend and colleague, Tony.
Thank you for being here. As you can see, I'm not ready to put words to Kat's loss. So thank you, Sandra, for letting me read her words instead. This is from a piece of hers from the spin-off. She writes, "The second season of Insatiable is now available on Netflix, and I, for one, will not be watching. I have better things to do. than watch a show that promotes fat shaming, crash dieting, and revenge fantasies. I could encourage a goose to cause mischief, perhaps. Teach my dog a new trick. Listen to yet another white man explain why free speech is a more important value than valuing the care of vulnerable people. As a super fat person, I avoid media featuring one-dimensional fat characters that belly into fat stereotypes and tropes. I skip stuff with fat suits. I avoid media that reinforces fat stigma and oppression. As you can imagine, my options are limited. Sometimes it cannot be helped. And I love something that is incredibly problematic. Looking at my 20-year-old self who loved and could not get enough of Friends. Other times I have no idea the fat-hating material is coming my way. And then Kat goes on to write, positive stories of fat people are only a drop in the bucket of the fatpocalypse media we are drenched in. But I'm glad to see more fat positive stories getting a chance to be told, especially by fat storytellers, especially to more mainstream audiences. Fat positive stories are revolutionary. Watching and enjoying them is an act of rebellion and an act of alliance. And fat people need that alliance. We're too often on the sidelines in social justice. Individuals who are committed to liberation and justice for people based on gender, sexuality, ability, race, class, and more are often ignorant or purposefully evasive on the fight for fat liberation and justice. If you believe that none of us are free until we are all free, that includes the fat community. Yes, even the fattest of the fat community.
Everyone, liberation, even the fattest of the fat community. You've all been sitting an awful long time. Nobody can tell that I was a university lecturer, can you? How Kat and I met as colleagues in Tautu Karangi. So let's celebrate Kat's vision. You can see it up the front with me here. Let's stand and give a Cat Pausé salute to the world and say, I am. You're wonderful. Yeah, shake it all down. Take that moment to go, I'm now standing, you know. I'd have a song for you to dance to, but that comes later. So no dancing. Well, no, you can dance now. You can dance now. You can also take a moment to say hello to the person next to you, which you might not have had a chance to do. Well, where do we go next? If you're ready to sit, there's only one place to go next. Around this room, you'll see the Cat Pausé necklaces on quite a number. People have got them on. Touch that beautiful gem. These necklaces Cat wore proudly at events big and small. These necklaces proclaim her commitment to fat liberation. I'm actually one of the thousands of people Cat cajoled, encouraged, probably bullied a little, prodded to join the fight for equality in every space. My liberation found its way into my academic talks and my talks as a leader of Tautu Karangi, where I would stand and quite rightly, according to Cat Pausé's way of doing things, declare my privilege, because I have a lot, and we start there. But then I would say to audience that as a fat woman, I faced derision and hostility daily. My friend, you are so courageous in facing that on all of our behalf. But as Gabrielle already said, you'd just go, haters gonna hate. And we'd move on. So today, we actually have 4 fellow fatties who are going to make sure that even in your passing, your legacy will not be forgotten, and there will be more of us seeking the liberation of all. So to start these tributes, I'm going to invite Kath Reid to come and share her memories and her courageous fat activism. The gentleman who is helping us all knows that he has to help because otherwise I fall downstairs, is my partner Adam, now known as the person who will help us get up and downstairs forever, eh? Because we all need that person.
The saver of ankles.
Absolutely, Kath, all yours.
I'd like to start by reading a short message from Charlotte Cooper, who was a colleague and friend of Kat's, and Charlotte's from the UK. And she sent me this little message. Kat, you will always be my friend and comrade, dead or alive. You are a shining star of the universe. I loved your big ass and your big heart. Your death heralds more mediocre scholarship and misinformation, euphemistic hand-wringing, passing for radical thought. A loss of global vision for an interdisciplinary fat liberation movement, and I mourn this deeply. I wish we had more time. There is so much for us to do that will now not be done. I will draw on your peerless legacy of scholarship, activism and humanity for the rest of my life. I will cite the shit out of you. I am so sad and deep in shock. Like all of us, I will miss you so much, and I will never forget you. For myself, what do I say? There are not enough words to convey what Kat meant to me personally, let alone the fat community in general. I first met her in 2010 in Sydney at the Macquarie Fat Studies Conference, where this short redhead with the biggest smile I've ever seen appeared beside me and fangirled all over me. I've never experienced such adoration or embarrassment in all my life. Once I calmed her down, we instantly became friends, and in that time she's been my greatest champion, fiercest protector and strongest confidant. She's the reason I finally moved to Aotearoa after talking about it for years. She invited me over for her first Fat Studies conference in 2012, and the minute I landed in this country, I was in love. The night before the conference, I spent the evening with Kat, consoling her over some vicious bullying she was on the receiving end of from people in her very own institution, who should have been the ones to support and uplift her. Like my favourite superhero, Captain America, Kat hated bullies, and she never backed down from them. And all too often, she faced them on her own, while being the one to step in to protect others from their tormentors. When I decided to take a step back from fat activism because I'd had enough of the bullies and the abuse, Kat was the one to say to me, "You've done more than your share, Kath. You are allowed to just live your life, you know." But Kat kept on fighting right to the very end. When I started sharing the news with the community that we had lost her, I expected to hear back from mutual friends. But I have received hundreds of messages in the past week. Kat touched so many lives, from her students to the listeners of her radio show, fellow scholars, activists like myself, and just dozens of people living in fat bodies who had either seen a news article she was quoted in or chanced upon her social media and been deeply moved by the work she did. I've been told of her kind words, her fierce encouragement, her raucous laugh, her astonishing generosity, and mighty, mighty intellect, touching people that she never met or only met by chance. There was always word at every event or fundraiser that Kat had secretly contributed a lump of her own money to enable others less fortunate to be included. She once told me that her biggest goal was that she would no longer be the go-to voice for fat community because she would no longer be needed, that we would be respected, listened to, and believed enough not to need her scholarly input. We still need her. I still need her. But she gets to rest now. And there is nobody that earned that rest more than her. She was an angel here on earth while she was with us. And I have no doubt, wherever her Wairua is now, she's still an angel. Just the one with the loudest laugh and the biggest smile.
Thank you, Kath. We have others who are joining us from the international community that Kat was a part of, and they'll be joining us with the playing of a number of videos. We're going to start with Substantia Jones, the photographer who took this amazing image. Adipositivity, the Adipositivity Project gave Kat a place to exercise her activism, and she encouraged others to, including my wonderful partner Adam and I. And don't worry, Megan, she kept her good manners, because on the day of our photo shoot, we took some photos up in our lounge in Maupuia. Then Substantia said, can we go to the top of the hill up here? It's a beautiful view. Would you mind posing nude up on the top of the hill? That's okay. I grabbed my big overcoat and put it on for the trip up. Adam, quick of thinking at this moment, obviously, put a sweatshirt on, which covered his chest, but not the rest. He got into Kat's car and she looked round and went, is your bare ass on my seat? I think I'm going to have to sell my car now. She was amazing at getting us to do things. Please turn your faces towards the screens for the incredible Substantia.
When Kat and I were co-writing an article for the latest edition of the Fat Studies Journal, we would meet via Zoom a few times a week for a while to work on it. She would often be multitasking, or as I like to call it, showing off that her brain works faster than mine. And this would often be her checking her email while we're writing. And many of these emails come from her students. If there was ever a particularly enlightened one or interesting, adorable, sweet, she would read it to me. One such email asked, Dr. Pausé, do you hide Madonna song titles in your articles that you write for all the academic journals? And I said, what an odd question. Why would they think that? And she said, because I hide Madonna song titles in all my articles for all the academic journals. I loved it. I told that story at Kat's private memorial last week, and immediately afterward I thought of a much better example of cat magic. And I told Sandra, who organized such a lovely memorial, I said, I have a better story, and it involves a Broadway musical, and Kat would love me telling it. A do-over. And Sandra said, well, you're getting a do-over. The public memorial is next week, and you can tell the Broadway story, but the Madonna story stays in. So there you have it. Good call, Sandra. Kat meant so much to me. She meant everything to me. I loved her immeasurably. Many of my most wonderful experiences came at the hands of Kat Pausé. She She and Massey University brought me to New Zealand for a 5-week lecture tour, which changed my life. Kat was instrumental in Te Manawa Museum putting on a solo exhibition of my work in 2016. Kat helped me in so many ways. She talked me into things. She talked me out of things. She was a huge supporter of the Adipositivity Project. She bought like 10 calendars every year. I hope she gave them away. I don't think that they're in her closet somewhere. But I trusted her. She knew me better than anyone. And I trusted her more than anyone. And she was set to take over the Adipositivity Project when I'm gone. That's a big deal to me, but it was always going to be Kat. No one but Kat. The day I first met her, I took her up on a Brooklyn rooftop to recreate a pose she said she had done for many of the photographs throughout her life and childhood, and except this time she was naked on a Brooklyn rooftop with the Manhattan skyline across the river. It was a great, I love that photo. Then we sped back to Manhattan to meet up with our mutual friend Leah in Hell's Kitchen for dinner. Then the three of us went to see Cabaret on Broadway at the famed Studio 54. We had a great table. They had it set up like a cabaret, as you likely have heard. We had a great table on the aisle, right down front. And I mentioned to them before the show started that I saw the last Broadway production of Cabaret at that same venue, because I'm old. And I also noted that the MC in Cabaret, who for this run was played by the divine Alan Cumming, will at some point come down into the audience and pull someone up on stage with him to serenade and dance with. And Kat, the calculations start going. She let's say she was enthusiastically determined that she was going to be the chosen one. And I was all about this. So I said, switch seats with me. If you're on the aisle and you have that, beaming grin, you're a shoo-in. So we did that. Time comes, Alan Cumming is coming up the aisle. When he gets to our table, Kat is looking up at him adoringly. And I am behind her going like this over her head, thinking I'm helping. Well, Alan Cumming glares at me and says, I don't take requests. And Kat didn't know what was going on. He went on up the aisle. Kat was crestfallen. I was mortified because I was now going to have to, after the show, tell my new friend that in my effort to give her a great experience, I had ruined her chances of dancing with Alan Cumming. So Alan Cumming is now a few rows back trying to convince a dude who was having none of it. Finally, he gave up on the sourpuss, spun around, grabbed Kat by the hand, and suddenly she is on the Broadway stage in her jandals, because once a Kiwi, always a Kiwi, even if you're a transplant. So picture this. They're on the Broadway stage. They're in a spotlight. They're slow dancing together. Alan Cumming is singing a German song from the show to her. Then Caitlin Pausé, possessor of the true spirit of Broadway musicals, sings back to him. Beautifully, of course, in perfect German. The audience Okay, earmuffs, Mr. and Mrs. Pausé, for 1 second, earmuffs. The audience went apeshit. They loved it. They just absolutely ate it up. Alan Cumming, poor thing, he looked scared for a few beats. Then the dimples returned, and he, with the audience reaction, he appreciated the moment and loved Kat as much as she loved that experience. So that would be a great story. That would be a perfectly serviceable story for the New York Chamber of Commerce to use when luring people to Broadway. But in the immortal words of 1980s late night TV commercials, but wait, there's more. The next day, Kat's parents fly in to spend a few days with her in New York City and attend some more wholesome Broadway shows. And they're way uptown having lunch. I believe it was Patsy's in East Harlem. And a woman excitedly approaches right there in front of the Pausés, who are already fairly proud of their daughter. The woman breathlessly says, "I saw you in Cabaret last night. You were great." That is Cat magic. And all that happened in the first 24 hours of our friendship. And here we are. We're in this weird space between mourning her death and celebrating her life. And I just miss her. I miss you, Kat. I miss you so much. I will love you forever and cherish everything I experienced with you.
So we have two more tributes on video, which will play one after the another. Marilyn, whom the podcast is named after, and Jenny Lee, a co-author and colleague to Kat. So please, a little bit more time talking about the amazing Kat.
Hello everyone, this is Marilyn. Thank you for including me today. When Kat first told me about her podcast, Friend of Marilyn, I felt connected to something larger than myself. I felt connected to a vision of the world that has justice and that welcomes and even celebrates each one of us. That's what Kat created with her work and with her joyful spirit. She was a fat national treasure. She was a fat international treasure. Each of us who is a friend of Kat will miss her so much. And we will also remember her by doing our part to create the world that she envisioned.
Good morning. My name is Jenny Lee and I'm in Melbourne, Australia. I want to start by acknowledging the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people of the Kulin Nation as the traditional custodians of this land. I pay respect to their elders, past, present and emerging. I also pay my respects to the Maori people of Aotearoa. Since 2010, Kat and I worked and wrote together in fat studies and fat activism, travelling from Australia and Aotearoa over the years, and I think we learnt a lot from each other in our fat work. But Kat became far more than a colleague to me. She was a dear friend. She saw me through a breast cancer diagnosis, and I was glad to be called on to occasionally support Kat on the rare occasions this incredibly strong woman needed support. This is a huge loss to the fat community on so many levels, but for me personally, I'm just grieving the loving, kind person that she was and the way that she nurtured me and her friends and made us feel valued and loved in a very secure way. And she never turned away from those of us who had perhaps faced some rejection in society, those of us who are neurodiverse or had traumatic backgrounds. But of course, that wonderful place that she created relationships from that I've just described was probably also the place that all her activism and desire for equity and humane approaches came from, whether that be for fat people, her union work, or through the way she valued Maori culture and equity for all. Kat is the reason I met so many amazing people around the world. My life over the last 12 years would have been very different without having met Kat. She forged connections wherever she went. She fought on when many of us could not have. When I was tired and unwell and had to turn down a media request, Kat sent me a book recommendation called Wintering, The Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times. She reinforced, reassured and accepted me, and I know she did this for her other friends too. As I figured out what I wanted to say today, I didn't want to talk in broad strokes, so I've decided to include some of Kat's wise or expressive words here from my texts and emails, and I'm sure you will hear her voice in your heads. The first one is after I told her I was a year cancer-free. I cannot imagine how tired you are of medical stuff. I'm so proud of you for pushing through and getting to this outcome. Kat would send little follow-up messages like, thinking about you and all we chatted about, love you so much. And hi lovely friend, how are you? I miss you, been thinking about you. Maybe you and Frankie, that was my previous dog, will be keen for an afternoon chat soon. And hey pretty lady, called in sick to work, first time in 10 years I'm missing a class. Yes, Kat had an amazing work ethic. And this is what Kat said when my first pet Frankie died last year. And while a dog is not a person, her words on death were beautiful, and I think it's appropriate that I repeat them here. She said, "Oh, hun, I'm so sorry. I know how much this hurts. There's nothing that helps but time. Y'all had a lot of years. He loves you so much and knows how much you loved him. If you want to cry over a video chat at any point, I'm always available to you." And when she saw a photo of my new puppy a year later, she said, "My darling Jenny, how gorgeous are you and that puppy. Gilbert is the perfect name, and his Anne of Green Gables namesake was one of my first crushes. Ah, Gilbert." Kat complained to me a little while ago that she'd have to frame another print of an adipositivity photo that Substantia Jones had taken of me with my previous Dachshund Frankie sitting on the floor looking like a black fluff ball. Kat said normally she framed one print of each of her friends that Substantia had photographed, but I think my papa, as she called him, who she met when she came to Australia a few years ago, counted as one of her friends. I know that her papa, Annie, is now in wonderful hands. So I'm going to finish this video with Kat's favourite way to finish our video chats, with a wave from my dog, Bertie.
Kat's impact went around the globe and back here to Aotearoa. The final tribute today, before we move into other parts of the service, comes from Te Hautu Karangi, the New Zealand Tertiary Education Union. The tribute will be read by Samantha Stephen, who probably loves Coach handbags and glasses as much as Kat did, but I'm only saying probably, not for definite.
Probably can't see me, but as long as you can hear me, we're all good. E te mare kure e Kat, ne rāti uni ana, I mō tia, I pura aki nei I a koe. A te mituku aruha atu ke te whānau. He kōkonga whare I kitia. He kōkonga nākau I kore e kitia. I think the worst part about going last is that everything has already been said. As I sat here listening to the tributes for Kat, I could think of numerous occasions where I was fortunate enough to be a recipient of all the wonderful attributes that were fundamentally Kat. It's true, Kat and I initially bonded over Coach handbags, sunglasses, and Timothy Oliphant, who's the hot guy from Justified. But it was immediately clear that Kat was much more than handbags and glasses, as previously mentioned. She was kind, compassionate, generous, and strong. But I think the most striking thing for me was Kat's ability to make me feel brave and strong enough to rise to all the challenges and expectations before me. I always knew she was in my corner, and for me, that made all the difference. Te Hatu Kaharangi Tertiary Education Union has lost a special person. The news of Kat's passing sparked an outpouring of araha for all who knew her, and all who knew her took to social media to express their grief. Former TEU staff member and organiser at Massey University, who's with us today, Heather Warren, saw the news on Twitter and was instantly heartbroken. My dear friend that brought so much light to my life, who worked tirelessly with me, a friend who cared with all of her heart, a friend who asked me to braid her hair whenever we hung out, and always saved me a seat. Susie Wiles, University of Auckland academic, tweeted, "Dr. Cat Pausé was one of my heroes. She was smart, funny, sassy, fierce and kind. The world has lost an incredible human being, and I will ever be grateful for her support." Tara McAllister, Victoria University academic, tweeted, "One of the scholarly attributes of Dr. Cat Pausé I'm going to really try hard to embody moving forward is her ability to centre, uplift and make space for those who are most marginalised. She worked really hard to make space for others while recognising her own privilege. She made space for me. She was so kind and caring. She would always check in and offer tatuku. She was generous in many different ways. She was fucking awesome." Amy Simpson, an early... So Cat, isn't it? Amy Simpson, an early career academic, tweeted, "I first met Kat at FSNZ 16. She was so immediately warm and personable. I was about to start my PhD in a department that knew nothing about fatness. She changed my scholarship and my life, really, with that conference. The way she took the time to check in with students that weren't even hers shaped my approach to mentoring. She had a real giving attitude that way and was oh so passionate about students. The projects we worked on together in the last year especially will reflect this. And I'm honoured that she wanted me on board, honoured I got to be part of that legacy. She invited me to be on the organising committee for #FSNZ20. She always had scholarships for students who couldn't afford to go, which she often paid for out of her own pocket due to the low budget of that event. She marked my PhD, and in my feedback she wrote, "If this is the future of my discipline of fat studies, we are in good fat hands." I've sat with the weight of that faith for a long time. I still don't know what to say other than I will do my best to be those good fat hands. TEU branch co-president at Massey University, Te Awati Ward, describes herself as absolutely heartbroken. Kat and I worked together on a lot of different kaupapa in both our TEU and Massey University mahi. She was such a beautiful, kind-hearted person who, above all, was passionate about equity for all. Kat tirelessly advocated for Māori, particularly Wahine Māori, respected Te Reo Māori, Minakitanga, and committed to advancing Te Tiriti relationships at Massey and in TEU. She will be sorely missed. I whakamihi anu mātou ki te wahine rangatira e Kat, mō tono mātenga o hirere nei. We acknowledge the great loss of this treasured person, Kat. Ko mātou aroha, e paka atu anu, ki aia me mātou, e hara tēnei e te mātai, o te marama. Engare, ko te rā tonu, mo te hunga, e mohia ane ki aia. Our lives have forever been touched by her generosity, her courage and her love. Let us weep, for this is not the death of the moon, but of the sun itself, for those that have known her. Kathleen Clare Pausé was 42 years young, and our hearts go out to her parents, Megan and Paul. E Kat, e moe, Marie, makwe.
Tu kotahi, tu kaha, Tato, tato, na piki, na eke, tukotahi, afia tu, afina, tato, tato, Thank you, Samantha, and the Te whānau, wherever you are. Well, you all know how much Kat liked photos. She liked to share photos. She didn't actually often like being in them, but she did share a lot. And her smile lit up the world. I'll let you know now you're going to get to see a short photo tribute, and after the service we'll run more photos that we've received in this space. But the short photo tribute was put together by Kat's friend, Heather Warren. It was over 2 cans of Coke, 3 cans of V's and 1 gin. Did I get it right, order? Oh yeah, so that's how you get through these moments as union buddies. The photos come from her parents, her friends, and of course some come from the world of Twitter and Facebook, the world of social media in which Kat spread light and enlightenment. This photographic tribute is accompanied by 2 songs, Rain by Madonna and For Today by Netherworld Dancing Toys. The words are in your song sheet. Rain was chosen by Kat's USA BFF Jessica Brown as it has special meaning for her and Kat. And For Today was chosen by Gabrielle. She said, hey, it's a Kiwi classic. And it sums up one of Kat's best attributes, her big old Texan smile. So, we've provided you with the words, but if you want, you can do what Kat would have done while singing these songs. Lean into the person closest to you and say, we love you, Kat, we love you, Kat. Or, you are so beautiful, Kat, you are so beautiful. Because she did that, the hey pretty lady thing, all the time. Actually, one of her union buddies, Scott Walters, is here. We once bored to death one of our councils with a little song that went something like this. This is our blueprint, our mighty blueprint. You must accept it or we'll keep on singing this song forever and ever. This is our mighty blueprint, yes, this is our blueprint. And a bit like the Small World song. We must have sung it about 6 times before people said, yes, we'll accept the remit, stop singing. But this is our time, not of quiet reflection, but of reflection, to see that beautiful smile and sing those 2 beautiful songs.
Return
kid. All I wanna do is to be with you, and everything else is unimportant compared. For today, I remember your smile. For today, I remember your smile. It's been a hot summer now. Things the way they should be. There's a hole in my well-being, and it's so big now. Drive a truck right through. I think you should know. You're the one who could probably feel it for good. For today, I remember your smile. For today, I remember your smile. For today, I remember your smile. For today, I remember your smile.
That was a little abrupt. You sing a lot, sing the rest of it for me. I am in my head, you know that. Wow, that smile, the joy that it brought to all of us. But at this moment reminds us of the terrible loss. Behind the smile was a brain, a big, big brain. And I'm now going to hand over. Actually, I'm going to ask, hands up who's from Massey? You're about to go into work time, so don't worry about still being here. Because we're all about to go into a graduation ceremony. I don't put my gown on for many people. It is a sign of honour to one of the Academy and to our learners. So I invite Ruth, Professor Cynthia White, Professor Mehana Jury, and the team from the College of Humanities and Social Sciences to take the stage, the podium, and lead us in this next very special celebration.
Kia ora tātou. I'd like to introduce Professor Huia Yankee, Professor in Māori Education, Mari Raupata, Senior Lecturer in Māori Education, and Pro Vice-Chancellor, Professor Cynthia White. We wonder if Kat's parents, Paul or Megan, could join us, please, or Richard, to receive the certificate. The award of the Postgraduate Certificate in Education is presented to you, Paul and Megan Pausé, on behalf of your daughter, Kathleen Clare Pausé.
As you will notice on the table as part of Kat's regalia from her PhD, thank you. Thank you for being here. The world to Kat, lifelong learning wasn't just something she said, it's something she did and something she encouraged in all of us. We are moving into the final moments. So I'm going to invite Fraser to bring you a reading called Eulogy from a Physicist by Aaron Freeman and adapted by all of us. Kat was a woman of science, a woman of scholarship, and we want to remind you something very, very important, Fraser.
It's not very tall, is it?
No, it's really short. Don't know what you were complaining about other people.
You want a physicist to speak at your funeral. You want the physicist to talk to your grieving family about the conservation of energy, so they will understand that your energy has not died. You want the physicist to remind your mother about the first law of thermodynamics, that no energy gets created in the universe and none is destroyed. You want your mother to know that all your energy, every vibration, every bit of heat, every wave of every particle that was her beloved child, remains with her in this world. You want the physicist to tell your father that amid the energies of the cosmos, you gave as good as you got. And at one point you'd hope that the physicist would step down from the pulpit and walk to your closest friends and tell them that all the photons that ever bounced off your face, all the particles whose paths were interrupted by your smile, hundreds of trillions of particles, have raced off like children, their ways forever changed by you. And as your friends seek comfort in a hug, may the physicist let them know that all the photons that bounced from you were gathered in the particle detectors that are their eyes, that those photons created with them constellations of electromagnetically charged neurons whose energy will go on forever. And the physicist will remind all in attendance of how much of our energy is given off as heat. There may be a few fanning themselves with their programs as they say it. And the physicist will tell them that the warmth that flowed through you in life is still here, still part of all that we are, even as we who mourn continue the heat of our own lives. Let all present know that scientists have measured precisely the conservation of energy and found it accurate, verifiable, and consistent across space and time. You can hope your family will examine the evidence and satisfy themselves that the science is sound and that they'll be comforted to know your energy's still around. According to the law of the conservation of energy, not a bit of you is gone. You're just less orderly.
We know that many, many more people wanted to pay their tributes, so we ask you now to come and pay your tributes to Caitlin Pausé. There are books on tables in the room. Write a message, draw a picture. These will be shared with whānau, with Paul and Megan. Write to Kat, write to the universe, draw. Come forward. There are petals that you can place at the urn. Take the time if you want to hug a fellow traveller, to move around the marquee and pay your final respects and your final tributes, share a tale. While you do so, that song mentioned earlier, I Am Woman by Helen Reddy, will be played. It is an absolute coincidence when I chose the song, because this was my song that I chose for the service. I did not know that another of her friends was thinking of the same. So please, come pay your tributes, put petals with Kat, write in the books, sing at the top of your voice, because she was woman and she roared. There might be a version of I Am Woman. It is, it's a new version.
In numbers too big to ignore, and I've had too much to go back and pretend. 'Cause I've heard it all before, and I've been down there on the floor, and no one's ever gonna keep me down again. Yes, I'm wise, but it's wisdom born of pain. Yes, I paid the price, but look how much I gained. If I have to, I can do anything. I am strong, I am woman. You can bend but never break me, 'cause it only serves to make me more determined to achieve my final goal. And I come back even stronger. I'm not a novice any longer, 'cause you've deepened the conviction in my soul. Yes, I'm wise, but it's wisdom born of pain. Yes, I paid the price, but look how much I gained. If I have to, I can do anything.
'cause it only serves to make me more determined.
All right, we've got you standing. I'm not going to make you sit again. But I am going to finalise this. We're going to go through and take Kat with us into Porirata, where we'll spend time talking again. I want to say this. Kat took action, wrote and lived to make a change in this world. And we can all pay tribute to Kat by going from here and keeping up her fight. In her words, we will be individuals who are committed to liberation and justice for all. The gal from Texas was too alive to let her go. The gal from Texas was way too big-hearted to imagine her heart ever stopping. Just before Christmas, Kat visited me in my home in Foxton to spend time with Adam, myself, and my nephew Peter. And I will always be grateful for Kat's presence in Peter's life. Peter, for some time, was very troubled, and Kat was one of the few people who did not judge him. But she showered him with love, she showered him with gifts, and she supported us to support Peter. Peter's a little bit arrogant, and he said, well, Kat does this because I'm a really nice person, Sandra. But last year, reflecting on all that was in his life, Peter looked me in the eye, and he said, oh, I've just realised this, Sandra. Kat wasn't nice to me because I'm a good person. Kat was nice to me because she was a good person. So, could I ask the family, could I ask Paul and Megan and the friends closest to Kat to pick up the photos, the urn, the certificate, and take Kat into Porirata, where we will say a few final words. Kat's leaving us to Madonna. What more would you expect? So, Gabrielle, what is it? We chose Madonna because Kat was about sharing every bit of her life, including her material possessions. And we chose this song because it's Madonna, bitches. Sorry, Mama and Papa, you know that's what Kat would say. So please, can we take Kat through, join us in Porirata for the final moments of the service, but also for some refreshments, some hugs, some smiles, and some more tall tales. Here we are, Madonna, it's your chance to shine and try and outshine our Kat Pausé. You will never do it.
a material world.